I wanted to share the words of that with you because it is the whole lesson summation, of course, put to words beautifully by Philip. Could you bring that forward, sweetie, so I can have my little thing to stand up on? Sometimes it seems like love is just a wave that meets the sand, the middle of love's ocean and 1,000 miles of land. So I reach out to see if God still knows that I am here. And God tells me, do not fear. Conscious Innocence, today's title, helps me change and see. Love is hurting, set free. My God, what is this but existence, consciousness, and bliss? Sometimes the blaze of glory is one candle in a storm. It feels like my life story is far from safe and warm. So I reach out to touch the hem of Christ in everything, and all eternity sings existence, consciousness, and bliss. I couldn't think of a more fitting way to begin this talk than with the lesson summation that becomes my talk. Just a few short moments ago, about, 3 months, I was experiencing my own version of why hast thou forsaken me, and for this was I spared, in the middle of my experience of my, cancer. Great teacher. Gets your focus right away, doesn't it? The big C. Everybody right away, they know when they hear that, whoa, hey, wow. That's what I think we're all looking at now. We're looking at those things in life that come along, that come out of the, should I say, random, that seem to just sort of pop up and appear in our life, and we wonder how they showed up. For me, we were at a place called Port St. Joe, and at that particular point, I knew that I had the cancer. I had been diagnosed with it. And I also knew that probably at some point, a thing called the femur, you know how important the femur is to your leg, was going to disconnect. It had not yet, but it was going to. And it was the one thing that the medical model was right about, because it actually did. But it did it at my brother-in-law's house. While we were there for sort of having just a vacation time, we were just hanging out. And then all of a sudden, one particular evening, the second evening we were there, it did disconnect. And it hurt when it disconnected. And when it disconnected, I felt disconnected as well too. I know my poor brother-in-law probably was feeling like, oh my God, he's going to die at my house and I'm going to have him here for 6 months in the living room. And you have to know my brother-in-law to know how painful that could be. You know, you have guests that come, but you certainly don't want them staying at your house for 6 months. You know, but you have someone come pick you up. But we were like 14 hours away from Wilmington, so there was none of that. And so the femur, it disconnected. So you notice when you see me standing, I appear to be 3.5 or 3 inches shorter on this leg. Well, I am. Get over it. It did what it did. It pushed back up again. And now I'm here doing this, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing this now. Interesting things happen during that time, and I'm just sharing the flow of consciousness with you now, existence and bliss. A part of me, although I had to get the pain meds worked out, which is kind of fun doing that, we ended up working with the idea of feeling very connected. At the same time that I was disconnected from my physical part of my body, I felt reconnected to the spiritual part of my body. Do you get that? It almost happened simultaneously. One went out, the pain got leveled off, and then the other one popped up, which was feeling incredibly connected to God, incredibly connected to Spirit, incredibly connected to what matters most, to the point at which I was even willing to say, I would have not traded this experience for anything. That's how I felt then. That's how I felt then. That's how I felt then, at that moment. It was very powerful. It was a very powerful shift from something changing physically to something shifting spiritually. And I found myself doing what we do when we get those kinds of shifts in consciousness. We feel real connected. You don't want to go away. You want the high of spiritual ecstasy to stay with you, don't you? You do. You want it because you know it's your birthright. You know you belong to it. You know you come from it. And you know you want more of it. But the truth is that moreness is the same trap that everybody gets stuck in. I want more, I want more, I want more. And the truth is, it hasn't stayed at that level of intensity. And there's a part of me that misses that kind of connection. I thought I'd be able to just sort of have this open door, and then I'd be able to just share it with you, and then I could keep doing this forever and ever and ever. But the truth is, it doesn't stay that way, because life is a mixture of things. On the one hand, there's existence, consciousness, and bliss. And on the other hand, there's the misery and suffering of being in the world, and that we hurt each other. This has been a great journey into looking at everything and everyone. Everything has been really kind of up for grabs, and particularly with people who see you when you're in a physically challenged position. For those of you who don't know anyone who's like that, or don't have anyone in your life who's been like that, or you may become one yourself, it's interesting being looked at from this perspective now, because you noticed all the time. You noticed everywhere you go. And people say things, not to be mean, but sometimes they're just not conscious. Like I'll go to Costco now, and I'm a cart guy. I'm in a cart. And there are people who knew me when I was the one who carried the weightlifting set on my back. You know, I don't need no cart. You know, I'll pick this up myself. And now I'm in a cart. You know, it says member cart. I feel like I'm a la carte. I'm in a cart. I'm the cart guy. Hi, cart guy. How are you? And everyone's looking down at you because you're now a cart guy. You know, so I get to really deal with feeling very vulnerable and very much not like myself, but more and more like myself every day, because this is what I've been handed right now in this moment. And sometimes life just brings things on that can be hurtful to you. Now, we cannot have existence, consciousness, and bliss and love without being willing to be hurt, because we as people on the planet hurt each other consciously and unconsciously all the time. Even when we're not aware that we're doing it, we do that, don't we? So to enter into the hurt and the pain is not to deny your suffering, but to enter right into it. So in my lesson summation from last week, I said, surrendering to the path of least resistance means letting go of any justification of where you might be along the path. This kind of acceptance becomes a healing in and of itself. Whatever change happens from then on is beside the point. Fighting to obtain what isn't, rather than being present for what is an exhausting way to live your life. When you let go, a great weight is lifted from your back. And I'm finding that in those moments where I can do that, it's actually true. And in the moments that I can't, and there are many times when I can't, it's equally as true that I just can't right now. And it's okay, and there's no reason to beat yourself up, because you're taking as much from life as it can hand you right now, and that's all you can do. The first point for the lesson summation, don't put it up, says, conscious innocence is the capacity to directly experience what is right here and now without any demands that it look or act or feel differently. Conscious innocence is an openness to see and trust even when what is appearing seems untrustworthy. And right now I feel like a part of my physical life is untrustworthy. So I have to be very conscious about everything I'm doing all the time. And also to be very conscious with the people that I'm with as well too, and how I'm hanging out with them, how I'm sharing myself, how I'm being available or not available for what's going on in the moment. Existence, consciousness, bliss, and why hast thou forsaken me literally walk together hand in hand. Conscious innocence involves a vulnerability, a willingness to be innocent even in the face of being hurt. The conscious suffering that you can do is when you no longer fight the suffering, but you consciously present yourself into the middle of it. And you're right there with it. Suffering then reveals itself to be the Buddha, the Christ, in all its living color. It is said that even Mother Teresa, this is the big one now, even Mother Teresa had her doubts about what she was doing. Even Mother T had doubts about what she was doing. But she kept doing it because that's what there was to do. to enter into the suffering, to be able to hold a child in her hands in the worst possible physical condition and say, Christ in all its distressing disguises. What a powerful teaching that is. That's entering right into the suffering and not running away from it, nor being afraid of it, but entering into it and not allowing it to take you over. To be able to be present for it. My God, for this was I spared, to awaken to this moment of being who it is that I truly am, regardless of what comes. Not knowing what's coming down the pike for any of us. Because there's nobody in this room who can make an accurate prediction of what that's going to be for you. Nobody can. You can only make that knowing this for yourself at the deepest level of being. And so now I'm experiencing that every day. So I'm catharting with you. I'm hanging out with you. I'm letting you know that this cancer and this talking to you is not all wonderful and easy. In fact, damn, it's hard a lot of the time being on this side of the cosmic coin of what's going on right now. It's not always easy. And although it looks like there's Richard and he's sharing his great healing, and look, he can stand up and walk now, and maybe his leg will grow back, and maybe he'll grow a third eye right in front of us. Maybe some little great spiritual thing will happen, and I'll get to be a part of it. The greatest spiritual healing that ever happened in Wilmington since the beginning of time, and maybe none of that will happen. I don't have any idea or any clue. I know I can only keep doing what it is mine to do right now in this moment, which is keep coming in front of you, sharing what it is that I can share, and tell you that sometimes it hurts. And it's okay that it hurts, because hurt is just part of love, and love is part of hurt, and the two of them walk hand in hand. And a lot of the hurt that we experience has nothing to do with anybody else but ourselves. The universe did not wake up this morning and say, how can I hurt you? Believe me, there's no universal plan for hurting you. If you get hurt, it's because that's how you're reacting to what's going on. That's your choice. It's always your choice. It's always your choice. And when you enter into suffering, you end the suffering. When you really look at it and see it for what it is, it's just suffering. And everyone who suffers here suffers. And there's an end to suffering. There's an end to it. Because everything has a beginning and a middle and an end while you're here on this planet. Every single thing has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Isn't it good to know that? That you're not stuck, that you can move on, that you can move on, that you can move on, even in the midst and in spite of whatever you might be going through now. So on Wednesday, I went through a very deep, dark night of the soul. I could say that you did as well too, but basically it was from me. And we were having, as a couple, and we're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You guys know this, right? I mean, being a couple with someone 42 years and being together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is a lot of work, being with someone all the time. And a lot of times when something comes up, the presenting situation is not really the problem. It's something going on beneath the surface that the presenting situation is just exasperating. Right? As a couple, you know this. So it comes up, and all of a sudden you're having this loud discussion with someone about something that came up, and you're not even sure why you're having it or why it's so loud, but there it is. And it's usually a sign, an indication that something's going on beneath the surface, that your mom, your dad, or your sister, or your brother, or work, or whatever it is that you're going through, they're providing you with an opportunity to look at something that maybe right now you cannot see, but you know it's there. And so we began to have this discussion, and the discussion got louder in volume. Anyone understand those discussions that just got louder and louder and louder and louder in volume, and they just got louder. And then all of a sudden, we were in emotional turmoil with each other. And we were almost going to leave it at that before sleep, which is a terrible thing to do. If you can avoid going to bed angry at somebody, it's a really good spiritual practice. Don't do it if you can avoid it. Or learn to shut your mouth sooner. But at this particular point, I did not shut my mouth sooner. I just kept going on. And then we got to a certain point at which we were about to go to bed. And then I started crying. weeping, feeling all this hurt, all this pain. And I said, well, what this really is I don't want to die of cancer. I've never said that. I don't want to die of cancer. I don't want to die, period. I want to live forever. And I want to live forever. Tell me the wings and fly. Hey, I'll settle for 3 inches, I'm going to live forever. And I was just there, just crying and weeping and gnashing over cancer, over the thing that had happened that I wish would go away. I just wish it would I'd wake up tomorrow and disappear. But you don't get to meet life on your terms. And you don't get to be enlightened in the midst of only the things that go really well for you. You get to practice your enlightenment while you're in the middle of your stuff. And today's talk is about that, about conscious innocence that goes with us wherever we go, that helps us see that it's all about love. We recently, I'll sit down, Maureen, I'm sorry. We recently watched a very, very good video that I suggest on Netflix if you don't have it. It's called Afterlife. And it's the story about Raymond Moody and this other guy, Paul, who actually does these case studies of people who died and gone to the other side. Not just one case or 2 cases or 20, but 1,000 of them. 1,000 what's called irrefutable evidence that when you die, you don't die. You are not a physical being, you are a spiritual being. Every single one of these people will just come out from very different degrees of that experience, sharing the fact that we are eternal, that the big boogaboo is not living, it's dying, and there's no opposite to living because there's only life. And that we go on forever because of who we are and what we are. And every single one of them comes back from their own level of having had this incredible experience, some longer than others, who come back and say, the only thing I'm missing is that I came back. I didn't want to come back. I literally wanted to stay in that bliss, in that consciousness, in that awareness. But yet, when I've come back, what I've learned is, it's all about love. Isn't that good news? It is all about love. Love which created me is what I am. I am a being of love. The stuff you're doing with your kids, and your work, and your job, career, all the things that will come and go and rise and fall and pass away, it's all about love. The whole thing is about L-O-V-E. And so they have that experience, but they also have the same experience that I did, which is you sort of withdraw from it and you get back into the mundane again. But the love that you are doesn't go anywhere, because the love is what you are. And that's the truth of being. You can experience that in any one moment that you're willing to enter into it. It's right here and right now. Ever-present, effervescent love. It is what I am, it's what we come from. And no one knows when their Earth visa is going to be pulled. People tell me all the time the most incredible stories of how all of a sudden, boom, there it was. And it had nothing to do with age, or sometimes it had something to do with a disease that was diagnosed prior. Sometimes it's just out of the blue and the person's not there. But the truth is, they don't go anywhere. They're right here and right now, with you forever. They don't go anywhere. You don't disappear when you leave your body. Now, can I tell you that unequivocally, beyond a shadow of a doubt? Will I pop back in the Sunday after I leave to tell you? I think many of us would like that. But I don't know if I will, because it doesn't matter that much when you're not in your body. You don't go on the other side and go, gotta go back and tell them. That was just so cool. What you do is you go, wow, what was that about? And then you start planning the next 45 days to make another body. But if you can stay awake while you're in this body, the body that you make, the situation, and the particular grace that you walk into can be even more astounding if you can stay consciously aware of your innocence, even in the midst of, in spite of. It won't be hard once the pop-through happens. And believe me, nobody wants to not have pain any more than I do. I don't want that part. None of us do. But they say even in comparison to the pain, all those different people from the afterlife thing said, the pain was nothing compared to the bliss. and the joy and the light and the awareness. I'm trying to give you a little glimpse of that because I know you're going to go home and someone's going to hurt you, or you're going to be hurt by something, and something's going to show up that might be a little bit difficult for you. And I want you to know that what you are is not being harmed by who it is that you truly are. And that whatever you seem to have lost will be gained for you 100, 1,000% the moment you slip out of this physical form. Can we have an experience of that right now? Yes. Are we meant to? Yes. Is that what we've come for? Yes. Is that what our teachers guarantee us? Yes, yes, and yes. That's what this is all about. So when I had that cathartic breakthrough, which I did, it was like this great monkey got off our backs. I probably cried for 45 minutes. Does that mean I'll not cry again? Does that mean I'm still not sad about it and want to go away? Of course not. What it means is that I no longer have to be ruled by that, and neither do you. And neither do you. We can enter into it right here and right now. And that's what we want to do, don't we? That's what we're here for. Conscious innocence. Awakening to that which is the love that is forever. To move from our fear into our love. And remember who it is that we are. And not get lost in the dream of being separate from God and being separate from each other. So what I wanted to do, if we could, I'd like to just have a moment to go in reverse and do our meditation at the end of the service, and just give you a little bit of an experience of what we've just talked about. So Philip's going to get up on the piano and play some music, and we're going to lower some lights, and we're going to have an experience of a gateway to conscious awakening. And that actually comes from a book called A Diamond in Your Pocket by Gunga Ji. And I want to use this as a prayer of guidance towards conscious awakening.